Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is going to be an English interview because we got in the studio one of the oldest and greatest, an OG of the industry. Bruce Pon is back from Ocean Protocol. Welcome back, Bruce.
Thank you for having me.
So it's been a tough few days, weeks in the market. I know you keep on saying you're not an expert, but you've been there for the past few crashes. We're going to talk about Ocean Honda and on all that. But I'd like to, let's say, break the ice with some market talk. Are you good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump into it. How do you see the market today? We are recording June 16th, and we've seen a small bounce. Bitcoin is just hanging above 20K, Ethereum around 1,100, 1,000 and something. How do you see the market today?
I think we're definitely going through a deleveraging phase, and in the run up to this, starting from the end of 2019 until now, we've been in a boom phase. And through this, you have a lot of ideas, a lot of projects, and you only really get to know which projects are sustainable when edge conditions happen. And right now, it's an edge condition. So we're seeing multiple projects and teams go under. Luna, Celsius, now 3 Arrows Capital, 3AC, and
is there any hope for Celsius left?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that specifically. What I do suspect is that there is still probably maybe one more large implosion that might be happening. Don't know where it's going to happen, but it seems like we still haven't reached total blood on the streets yet. And so, yeah, we could see some more volatility and more lows. But I think after that, we probably deleveraged everything out of the market, and everything that we start with from in the next 2 months will be on a solid basis.
So the weaknesses in the market are still, let's say, at least a big project, you said. Could it be an exchange or a stable coin?
I wouldn't want to speculate on that, but there's rumors out there about various projects, potentially exchanges that might have that could have used some of their depositors' cryptocurrency, their stable coins that may have bought into commercial paper or other assets that might have been affected in the last moments, these types of things. Nobody knows.
There are ongoing investigations in New York, in the state of New York, and also the Department of Justice is talking about something like that.
Yeah. What I would say is that in this deleveraging, as bad as it is, we still have better transparency about various wallets that are over leveraged, that could be liquidated, etc., than we did during the 2008 crisis. Okay. So what blockchain has given us is additional insight. It doesn't give us full insight, but it gives us better insight into at least the wallets and where there might be bombs waiting for everybody. And I think that's a positive.
Okay. And where do you stand in all this storm? Are you waiting on opportunities, or just you're, like they say, you're hodling, you're a bag holder?
I've hodled since 2013, 2014. So I haven't really moved. Dollar cost average, all that sort of stuff. I think in general, what we're seeing in the market is that the teams that were the most conservative are now putting out feelers saying we're going to hire the folks who are leaving Coinbase. I think there was 18% layoffs yesterday that were announced. There's other projects that are reducing headcount. Many other projects are putting out the feelers. So anybody who is being let go, I think they'll easily find new places to work. I don't think that there's going to be a leaving of in 2017, 2018, we lost a lot of VC money. We lost a lot of energy. We even lost people. And so the people who were left were the ones who truly believed in more building. I think that now that critical mass is much bigger. We're not going to lose a lot of people. And also VCs have a lot more capital to deploy, maybe 10 to 20x more capital to deploy that hasn't been deployed. And that's cash. So it hasn't been destroyed in the crypto market. It's cash that's ready to enter the market. So I think that quality teams will still get funded. Valuations will be lower, but if you have a great idea, you still have a shot.
Yeah, it's a good time to spend cash. Everybody's saying cash is worthless nowadays. So maybe they will start putting their money into projects they believe in. And you're talking about hiring. And I was talking to Monica, your PR, about how the project is doing, and you're still headhunting for the best in the industry because Ocean Protocol is not stopping anywhere.
Yes, we're looking for excellent developers, back-end developers, smart contracts, as well as on the biz dev side to help us scale the project. We've tried to be as conservative as possible throughout all this. We've been through so many ups and downs that I don't know. We just think modesty and caution are probably good things to have. Humility, because this market humbles everybody, no matter where you are, how long you've been in, and the violence of how high it goes and how low it goes so quickly. So to all the folks who are new, welcome to the rodeo, and everybody else who's been here, we're surviving.
Last time we met, we were doing the questionnaire together with my colleague Andrei, and we were talking about how the project is doing, what's its mission and all that. I'm going to ask everyone to go back and listen to that before we go any further, because this is an update to that conversation. And now we're going to go into the talking points, let's say, and try and see where you are today. And one of the questions we always bring to any project that comes to this table is, are you prepared to go through a bear market and continue to invest and develop? And this is the time to put that question to the test. So are you going to be here in the next 2 years if everything goes as it is? And what are you building on?
So what I can say is that we have Ocean DAO, which is distributing at least $100,000 a month to teams that are building. We have Ocean Shipyard, which we have a cohort of at least 3 up to 5 teams that are just starting now that we're investing in them, and this is long-term funding. And then finally, we have kind of Ocean Ventures and Ocean Ecosystem. And what Ocean Ventures is it's essentially off our own balance sheet. We invest in teams emanating from the ocean ecosystem, and we have VCs who have lined up. We haven't announced all of them, but we have VCs who are lined up to invest in these projects also. So we have a small ecosystem that is growing. It's stable. It's not exploding as fast as some of the other projects, but we believe that in long term it's sustainable, and it will take us through this bear market 1 or 2 years ahead. And so that when we come out of this, we think that ocean could be a leading indicator of the health of altcoins. It could be where in the last run in 2019 December, that was the low point. And what happened after that from early 2020 until now, we entered a bear market. And looking back, it looked like Link and Ocean were the projects that were the harbingers of better times.
Okay.
We outperformed Bitcoin by 20x in that time. Link did as well. And then over the last, let's say 1 year, then we've had all the other projects come up where you had multiple ideas, some great, some not so great. And now we're seeing kind of a cleansing of everything again.
That's what the bear market does. Like any recession, it cleans out the weak hands. And if we're going to see a cleanup of at least 75%, as some people say, there will be, let's say, more room to grow for, let's say, valuable projects. And the value proposition for Ocean Protocol has always been data, owning your data and all that. Hasn't the time come yet for data protection in its blockchain form, let's say?
So I believe yes. And I think that for the last 9 years, I have been looking for research on data markets and the data economy. Every 2 years, I hire an intern and say, tell me everything that's happening in the research. And this year, what we did was we found research that is showing that most of the new data marketplaces are in Web3. Most of them allow for cryptocurrency payments. That's where all the energy is. We're starting to see a nascent data economy showing up, and most people don't even know it's happening. We all know it. We all know that Facebook, Amazon, Google, all these folks, they take our data, they use it for various reasons and such like that, and we get nothing. But for the first time, the advantages of Web3 are starting to come up, and we think that Ocean can be an orchestration for many of these activities. So I think that data economy, monetizing your data, using the incentive models of Web3 to incentivize more data, as well as the smart contracts to control access to information, give you the transparency. All of those are features that only Web3 can offer. So I think that in 1 year, when we're out of this bear market, that Ocean is going to be very well positioned to be the orchestration layer for a data economy moving forward.
New data economy and Web3. These are the main buzzwords, let's say, when we talk about all this. But it's much more than just browsing the internet nowadays. We even get laws for what you cannot do in the metaverse. Yeah, it's becoming very personal. So we are going to share much more than our browsing history in the Web3 ecosystem. Is Ocean Protocol, let's say, like an underlayer, ready to get all that? Because there are many more touch points than anything else we've ever seen on the internet.
So the way I would frame this is there are billions of data streams that we could monetize. Right now, only the most valuable are monetized: financial data and ad and marketing data. This is the only data that gets
So what I'm buying and my consumption behavior.
Yep. Also like trading data. Okay. So information that a hedge fund can afford. So they can afford to pay $1 million for a data set. Most people can't. So what you're seeing is this long tail where it goes like this. And only the data at this level, where it's so valuable and so high priced that you can unlock it, is being unlocked. And we have this entire millions and billions of data streams on the long tail. And what stops that from getting monetized? It's trust and cost of transactions. So along the entire value chain of buying and selling data, there's all these different barriers where it's low trust, high cost. Low trust, high cost, low trust, high cost. And you go along the entire value chain. And this is what we're seeing as we've been interviewing a lot of data providers. And if you can use blockchain at each of those levers to increase the trust and reduce the cost of transaction, step by step through that entire chain, that is the best we can do. And we think that as we do that, we unlock more and more and more data sets until we get to the long tail, just like Amazon unlocked books. So that's what we're aiming towards. If we can make so the orchestration layer takes on more aspects, so just basic transactions, then money, then control of your data and having audit, then proving privacy of the data asset and consumption, having reputation on top of it. All of these things will help to reduce the cost of transactions and increase the trust. That's what we're going for.
You're also introducing data NFTs and more options for community monetization. And you're also, that's going to be a challenge, solving rug pulls. How can you do that?
So we with Ocean V4, we've essentially solved rug pulls in the actual staking on data sets. So right now you can stake on a data set. And what that means is as there's transactions on that data set, you can earn a portion of that. We have this program called data farming, which is an incentive model, just like yield farming, liquidity mining, all that sort of stuff. It is, if a data set is consumed and people have staked on it, everybody wins. Mm-hmm. So if there's real consumption, you can stake on data, you get part of the transaction fee, plus you get yield farming rewards. And that is one way to bootstrap a network that only Web3 offers. That's part of the incentive model of minting tokens to help activate a community. You mint only the tokens you need, that inflation, that is commensurate with the value added.
Okay.
So what we see is that with data farming, you might have a growth of, right now we have we just released Ocean V4, I think last week. We have 20 or 30 data sets. And as that grows to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, each one of those data sets can start getting yield from data farming plus consumption. And so we're only going to be able to mint as many tokens as the growth of the network. So it's not inflation like potentially what happened with USD, 20% inflation every year, which is just money printing. This is real kind of yield for real value that's created in kind of the digital world.
I'm looking for data sets now. And how many do you actually have on your ecosystem? So
in V3, we had 2,000 published and 500 were kind of useful data sets. In V4, I believe we're at about 40 or 50 now, and we just released last week. So anybody from the V3 world has now transferred over into V4 world. And we did an airdrop for everybody in V3 who took a loss. We made sure everybody in V3 made at least 100 ocean, no matter what happened, whether they were staking, they were a publisher, they were buying and selling data tokens.
So we're looking at a fork here.
Not a fork. So the V3 contracts are always going to be on Ethereum.
Okay.
But what the V4 was solved the rug pulls. The V4 made it so that the pricing of data sets was stable, more stable than before, because it had a wild price swings in the V3 model. And so we introduced this idea of one-sided staking, where if you stake, there's kind of a mint factory that ensures that for that data set, that when you stake, there's a certain amount of data tokens that are created that you can then spend, use, etc. When you unstake, you give back those data tokens that you haven't used, and then there's a burn function that reduces it, so you have a kind of a stable price. And it's showing. We see that in one of the data sets from Data Whale, there's $80,000 staked on it right now. There's been no change to the price because of this minting function, mint and burn, mint and burn. And so that solved the rug pulls issues, because now the data set, on its own merits, can compete in the market. The price doesn't explode, so that somebody who wants to consume it is just spending a ton of money. And that allows us now to understand the journey. So now that we have V4 out, we're going to start looking at the journey of a data provider and how to reduce costs along the entire way so they can start getting consumption from real data scientists. So we're going to be announcing a new program very soon, where we encourage the data scientists in our community. We have about 250,000 people in our entire social network.
Okay.
40% have self-identified as data scientists, which means 100,000 people.
Wow. This is so niche.
Yeah, it's very niche. It's very niche, but we think that these are the folks who are going to start unlocking data economy, because one of the ideas is that if you have a data set where the data provider has never monetized, it's an ancillary business, actually, like it's not their core business. The main question they have is, what can I do with this data? Who's going to buy it, and what's it worth? We think the community can help with this. What can I do with this data? These data scientists, we have 100,000 of them. Some of them are going to know about your data set. We'll put them on that data set and let them look at it. We're going to have prizes for this. And then once we get all the ideas, we'll vet them, or the data provider will vet them, and then say, these 20 ideas, let's actually go forward. Well, let's have algorithms, let's have analytics, let's have reports and narratives around this data set, and actually publish that in Ocean against our real data set. So we'll have competition for that. So that builds an ecosystem and a context around the data. And then finally, we're going to say, solve a real problem. Now that you have all these dashboards and stuff, what problems can we actually solve or attack that's worth money? And so what's going to happen is a data owner can have 20 or 100 algorithms printed against their data set. And every time somebody uses that algorithm on their data set, they earn money. They can earn from the algorithm, they can earn from the use of their data, and that's how we're going to build a data economy, one data set at a time, until it's millions of data sets.
And you're going to tap into a large data pool, let's say, from all these scientists bringing in research and data sets into the economy. But one of the key things in any kind of, let's say, ecosystem like that is the copyright. So for this, you're introducing ERC 721 data NFTs.
That is, so we patented the idea for an NFT originally. In 2013, my co-founder Trent and his partner Masha, they patented the idea of the NFT, the concept, yeah? And that's essentially putting a claim on digital property using a blockchain. And it's a unique digital property, which is an NFT essentially. And so we've thought a lot about this for 10 years now, and we're just heartened to see that last year, NFTs really started hitting, and we're using that concept to, the ERC 721 was a standard that wasn't available in 2013. Exactly. Obviously, Ethereum didn't exist, and now that we have it, you can essentially make a claim of copyright on your data. A database is also intellectual property, using the ERC 721 standard, and from there you can create an infinite number of sublicenses. So based on your master NFT, you can then say, I create 10 NFTs that are streaming NFTs that operate underneath this. And that means that if you buy this NFT, you can stream my data 24/7. There's an NFT that you could have 1,000 NFTs, which is single use. You use this data once, that's it. One access, that's it. Then you can have like for an hour, you can have monthly, you can have auction NFT. So this NFT, if you buy it, then it's based off an auction, and then you have maybe premium access, something like that. And then there's other NFTs that are based on maybe usage patterns. So API based, the number of rows you use, the number of records you use, the number of calls, all that sort of stuff. So there's multiple ways that you can mix and match your business model with an NFT business model. And that allows for the variability on how you would ever want to sell data. Because we think that a data economy is going to have some standards and some methods where people understand cognitively, like lower the cognitive load of these are kind of the pricing models, but we still want to give everybody the flexibility to price in whatever way they want. And so that's what data NFT does more than anything else.
I was listening to you and I was imagining a decentralized Spotify.
Exactly.
Or Netflix or Disney Plus or anything else.
Exactly.
That would come in handy for the actual creators.
Yes.
And we have the technology today for all that. It's actually here. And if you build it, they will come. So you're building it.
Yes. So we're building that orchestration layer. So there's a whole bunch of things. You mentioned metaverse. I can talk about decentralized Spotify, YouTube, etc. Every content creator now has the risk that somebody's going to deplatform them, whether it's Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Web3 gets rid of that. You can store all your data on Arweave or Filecoin. You can then set up an ENS name where nobody can block you. And then you can start taking crypto payments, whatever the world is that allows for that. And then using Ocean, you can then give access to your data streams, everything like that. It's all decentralized. We can't stop it. That technology is there. The cost to do all that is probably 100 to 1,000x cheaper than today, even though YouTube is cheap.
You're blowing my mind. So YouTube is actually not the cheapest. It's actually free for most of the people. And the creators get a slice of the revenue. We know that. But it's still paying well enough. Not the best, much better than anyone else, much better than Facebook, and immensely better than TikTok. So creators are there. Yeah. What does it take to take actual creators, scientists, any kind of, let's say, content or data creator, harvester, let's say, and get them on this new economy?
I think data farming is a core piece of this. I think incentives to show people that that you can earn money by just throwing in data that was very obscure but useful to somebody else. So there's two hypotheses that we're working on. So first, we had the orchestration of Ocean. That's the smart contracts that make sure everything happens. That's there with V4. Then the insight that we had over 6 months of interviews with data providers, 10 or 15 a week, was that context around the data. Can we build context in a community around the data on one side? And second, can we use the unique feature of tokens to incentivize people, just to bring everything together? Mm-hmm. It's the glue. And we think that that is the secret sauce. We've seen multiple other projects try to build just industry vertical data sharing things. We don't think that works because they have to build everything from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. And we think that this horizontal approach helps to break down the silos, because right now, if you look at the Web 2 world, a data marketplace is a niche in a specific industry. They have their own customers. They don't even look at the customers who could be using it. Maybe 90% of their customers are not people who they're currently doing biz dev for. But there's no way to connect that.
Of course.
And the reason why is that there hasn't been an orchestration layer for data sharing with transparency, with all the controls and all that sort of stuff that they can manage. And so that's what it's going to take to unlock. We have this orchestration, V4. Then we have a context building. So you can gather 10, 100, 1,000 people around your data assets as a community, and then you incentivize them with data farming. And that's how we get things going. And then once the economy is up and running, where there is actual data, there's problems being solved, there's value being generated, that data farming will run forever. But we've already kickstarted everything. And that's what we're trying to do.
Unfortunately, most of the data is being harvested and kept in silos, like you said. And the bigger companies that have enough data, they get all that data and they just sit there and look at it. Sometimes they decide to go into a new industry based on what they've learned in a different industry, but it's not transparent. And it crushes competition because they harvest so much data, which they decide if they will use it or not. And most of the times they're gonna do a poor job at it because they're not competitive, fighting for that data and getting the most of it.
Yep. So this is where the idea of data unions comes in. So if we are able to kickstart the consumption of data and show that it really has value, then we already have government legislation that says it's the data owner or the source of the data that should have some rights to this.
Okay.
You and me, individuals. And a data union serves to aggregate a data stream. And this is where I was talking at the very start about the billions of data streams that are available. A data union can start saying, okay, for all your social data, we're going to create a data union. This is probably the most popular Web3 startup idea right now in the data space that I've seen. There's so many startups, at least 30 or 40, that are trying to take your social media data from your mobile app, all that sort of stuff. And they're trying to create a data union where then that data is aggregated, it's more valuable, and then they act as the marketing agency with a DAO on top. That's probably the best thing to do.
So let's translate that for our viewers. If there's still anyone out there that is not very technical and they're still into this interview, they should understand that your data is values in the hundreds or thousands for any, let's say, social media giant that you're actually using their network. So getting that data, you can pull your own data from this social media, let's say, website, platform, and you can put it into a data union.
Correct. And then that data union markets and sells it. And of course, there's multiple ways where you can have the key of distribution. So it's just like music rights, where somebody consumes the data, they pay big bucks, it goes to the data union, which is managed by a DAO. And then that, because of whatever the splitting function is, you get a portion of that. Whether it's proportional or linear, what have you, whatever that splitting function is, you get it passed through directly. And because it's a DAO, maybe it operates on a low-cost L1 chain, you're not paying 30 to 70% cut to that middle person because it's a DAO. It's yours. It's your data union. And so that is one way that you can reduce the costs of transacting and increase the trust. Makes it available, makes it so this is viable to be commercialized. Mm-hmm. Because right now, a management company is going to cost about 70% probably. So you only get 30%.
Exactly.
Most artists, I think, get 10% at the end. Musicians and stuff like that. I think the number is between 5 and 10%. So if somebody's paying $1 million, at the end of the day, this guy gets 50,000 to 100,000. It's not bad. But what happens if they could get $500,000?
Of course. So it's like you want to take out friction and make things more fair for everyone involved, because you don't actually know how much money is Facebook doing out of you, let's say, extracting energy from you and all that. I'm looking at some data sets on the ocean market, and I see the data ocean on that data file directory. There's also a transport Gini vault, CO2 intensity of electricity generation from the 1990s to 2020. Interesting. There's a bunch of that. How much usage do you get from all those data sets? So
in V3, I think it was a lot of people were testing the technology and throwing on data sets. We learned a lot about how to protect copyrighted data as well. So that was a lot of learning. In terms of the consumption right now, we're going to see with data farming what happens. We had probably, actually I have the exact numbers. We had over 60,000 transactions on the ocean market in V3, which is pretty good. I would guess that 98% of that was buying and selling of data without actually consuming it. Okay. So out of that 60,000, I would guess that...
So trading on data.
Trading on data, which is a fundamental part of developing a market. Mm-hmm. Speculation. In a marketplace that's just growing, nobody knows the value of data. Everybody's learning the rules. So it heartens me that we had 60,000 transactions. We had over 2,500 participants in the market.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that the real consumption was in the range of 500 to 1,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is fine, because in V3, we saw that there were some gaps in technology and gaps in some of the assumptions. We fixed them in V4, and now we're ready to just pour gas on the fire and really see the consumption patterns, see the user journey, and get that going.
But you're still not your Ocean Protocol for most of the people watching this is not yet, let's say, the end solution is just an infrastructure is like
yes. So what we see is that a data marketplace is not going to look like what we think, for instance, an Amazon marketplace is going to look like. We think that a data marketplace in the future is going to be maybe mobile first. It could run IoT devices through a data union. It's visible on the mobile app, and maybe it's actually a bot that buys that data. We think that much of the transactions in the long term that are going to happen on Ocean Market are going to happen with bots, AI and ML bots. We saw that, I think this week or last week, there was this Google engineer who said that one of their AIs had gained sentience.
Yes.
You can question that, but what you can't question...
Yeah, we want to question that. I'm not okay not questioning that.
You can question that, but what we can say is that there's a clear line between what we saw this week and the AIs taking thousands or millions of actions per day on behalf of their programmers to do commerce, to buy and sell data, to speculate and do a lot of things that we as humans can't cognitively handle in a day. Yes. All we can do is think about the algorithm and the framework on how that AI is going to operate. And as I said, we think that in the long term, most of the data trading is going to happen through bots.
And the bots need to find the information they need to succeed in the operation they're doing, which is called on by, let's say, a human operator or an entity wanting to do something more efficient.
Correct.
And efficiency with what we strive for, a better life, better ecosystem and all that. So we need more efficient ways of doing that. And this is what you're actually offering. It's not just selling your data and stuff like that, because when we hear about your own data and selling, it has a bad thing to it.
Yep.
But we need to keep reminding people that no, it's not bad. We need to know to make it better.
Yes, I think so. One of the $1 trillion, I think in the data economy, the $1 trillion idea is user experience, user interaction. If you can make it so that it's easy for somebody to share their data, to then monetize it, and then at the end audit and have transparency on what was done with the data, that is a $1 trillion idea. That is the Google for a data economy.
Yes.
Absolutely, hands down.
Without the owners of Google.
Right, exactly. The beauty of this is it's going to be a machine economy. What we're starting is a machine. This is the basis for a machine economy. AIs are going to run the world. But what's underlying that is that every human on Earth who is able to sell their data, of these billions of data streams, there's probably hundreds of different ones that a human can participate in, whether it's social media, your location data, your biometrics data, drug information, your healthcare, driving stuff, whatever it is, there's hundreds of data streams where you can monetize. That is de facto universal basic income for the world. Mm-hmm. The AI needs this data. They're willing to pay it. There's somebody on the other side who can make some money off of this stuff. But the core is that it's consent and opt-in.
And this is what you're working on. And you've been going forward with it, and it's actually almost out there. I'm curious if we're going to see, let's say, something that a user might actually interact with who's not a data scientist or a data trader.
Yeah. The best example I have this is a vision that I have for the metaverse, where there is a digital twin of you. Okay. And you're able to use that digital twin where, let's say, your mom always wants to talk to you, and she takes half an hour of your day every day. And you say, Mom, why don't you try talking to my digital avatar for half an hour every day?
No way.
And then you get like a 3x speed on this. Yeah. No. It's possible, because if the AI knows you well enough, that interaction can be 98% close to reality, and maybe Mom gets her fix and you can do your other stuff, go on Netflix.
No.
Maybe.
You're not doing it right. Come on, Bruce.
Maybe you can have your digital avatar where you ask feedback from yourself. So if I was, you ask your AI, if I was 50 now, what would my 50-year-old self do? And let's say you're 23. That's something you could do. There is, you have a meeting with somebody in Japan, and you want to impress them. You have all this videos, great content, and there's AIs out there that can take you and all your mannerisms, the way you are, voice, your facial recognitions, all this sort of stuff, the tone. And if you give a 90-minute sample, video and voice, it can take that, translate it to Japanese, and then do a deep fake. The Japanese can watch it, can actually like...
And that can actually happen today.
It's already there today.
Yes.
It's already there today. And so what I'm saying is that what underlies this for the orchestration is that the AI is only able to do all these things that I'm saying if it had access to all your social media, all your gaming, all your psychological profiles, the way you interacted in Zoom calls, the way that you interacted when you were driving, stress situations, situations where you're vulnerable, all these things, if that feeds into your data vault and you control that, but then you allow a certain smart contract, which is your data avatar smart contract, to access it, to create that. You have a data NFT on that where you own it. Imagine if you could rent out your time to somebody else.
Yes.
So somebody says, George, I want to learn about how to set up the type of business you've set up. You say, okay, good. You can rent out my avatar for $50. You can rent me out for $5,000 a day, or you can rent out my avatar for $50 an hour.
Shut up and take my money.
1,000 people can do this.
I would buy your time like that. I would hire you. So we're going to have, let's say, a multi-level human economy where we can have our own. I could hire, I don't know, any, let's say,
Elon Musk.
Yes, I could hire him by the hour, his, let's say, digital twin.
Exactly. And what feeds into this is everything that you do in the real world, there's sensors collecting that. There's computer programs that's collecting this data. If you feed that into some algorithm, it's a data vault.
At this time, we are feeding that into Google, Facebook, Apple,
Correct.
and all that, and that data isn't being harvested. And we hope that they're doing a good job at taking that data and making better products, which they aren't.
They are making better products, but it's against us. So it depends on, So
they get better at...
So this is where not only do you monetize your data, so that data vault serves as the vault for you to participate in data unions, but it's also the vault for your avatar.
Yes.
That you control.
So I'm so lucky that I'm not a very technical person. I want to understand the philosophy behind it. And I trust you with Ocean V4. It looks like a, let's say, up-to-date version of what you're striving for. But I keep coming back to that killer feature. We have the $1 trillion question, but what's the killer feature? When are we gonna see a finished product, something in the shape of an app I can use to do at least some of that, and it would be magical?
That's what we're looking for. It's a great question. Where's the magical user experience? And I do believe that it's at UX. It's the ability to buy and sell your data, see your data value go up in time, just like the crypto markets.
Without being a data scientist.
Without being a data scientist. It's those dashboards.
Or a blockchain engineer.
Yeah, and that could be one of those bounties that we set up, where we say, what are the dashboards that we could set up?
Yes.
Yeah. Once again, I want to reiterate, Ocean never wants to own this. We want people to set up their $1 billion or $1 trillion companies on top of Ocean.
Yes.
So if we have UX special, we want to have a community that involves not just developers, because that's where we've pretty much gone to until now. We want people who are hackers and hustlers, who are UX experts, and create a data economy that has empathy. Because I think that what we built...
Let's just make an Ocean phone.
An Ocean what?
An Ocean phone. A smartphone running Android, AOSP, the open version, open source, and you can put all your harvesting technology on that phone, and it's part of a data union. And everything I do, because most of my digital interactions are made through a smartphone, you can harvest all that and plug it into the data unions and data pools, all data sets and everything, and you can harvest that with my knowing so.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming. We don't know how. I think it's going to be a couple more decades. It takes 30 years for some sort of technology like this to get rolled out. There's a lot of things we don't know. We don't know about the UX. We don't know if it's a phone, if it's a computer, if it's some sort of device that's implanted. It's probably going to be an implant, to be honest. It's probably not going to be a phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so that technology needs to catch up. The data unions concepts with DAOs needs to catch up. The legislation on forcing companies to give you back your data that's rightfully yours.
We have GDPR.
It's there, right? So now we need to actually have the tools that allow GDPR to be activated by individuals. So there's a lot of areas that we're trying to activate, and we think that, as I said, after this bear market, that people are going to start to see if back in the day it was colored coins, then it was data, it was yield farming, and then it was DeFi, it was NFTs. Now we're going to have DAOs and data economy. I think in 2 years, it's going to be obvious that this is an area that people are going to be working forward on. Yeah.
Because we all want a piece of the action, and the DAOs are the best way to do that.
DAOs are the best way, and every one of us is data. Not everyone's going to collect NFTs. It's just going to be kind of a byproduct. There's some, of course, core folks who are really deep into NFTs right now, but for most people, it's still ancillary. It's still this gimmick. Data is tangible. We all realize it. It's the only thing that's tangible to us other than the money that people are making in crypto.
And if you're using crypto and blockchain technology, you might start small, but rise very fast with the use of data. The data that others are been harvesting for the past 2 decades.
Correct. It's there. There's so much data that's unused. Right now, most of it's being used for marketing, ad tech, trading, like financial services and stuff like that.
The short tail, like you said.
Yeah,
it's
the very narrow.
So is that short tail actually 20% or 80% in your view?
The short tail is less than 1%.
No way.
Yeah. We have so much data.
So some of the top companies in this world are tapping into the value of less than, let's say, 5-10% of all data?
Less than 2% probably. The amount of data that's being created, the sensor data, all the data that's has been collected in the world, we're probably using 1 to 2% of it right now. Mm-hmm. And even then, not to the full extent. That 1 or 2% is not being used. It's used for one purpose.
It's siloed, like we said. It's inside companies that are harvesting and deciding we're going to look at it some way.
Correct. Or it's strictly for marketing purposes.
Yes.
Or strictly for financial operations or supply chain optimization. But there's so many other things that you could probably use with this.
Yes, like elect better presidents. I don't know.
Truth. Finding the real truth.
Yes.
I don't know.
Why wouldn't we? And we are doing this interview to let the community know where you are. But in terms of, let's say, people still working for you here in the country, can you give us some updated numbers?
I think, so since the pandemic, we've gone way more decentralized. So it's about 1/3 in Romania, 2/3 outside.
Okay. And still looking for great talent.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Always.
Bruce Pond, CEO of Ocean Protocol. Very nice to have you here. One of the, like I said, I'm going to say it again, one of the greatest, not necessarily oldest. I don't know if you like the term, but definitely one of the best in the industry. And you're still out there. Yeah, you're still making me dream about a better future. And I think this is what founders should be doing every single day, to show people the real value of the ecosystem, mostly in days of, let's say, blood on the streets, like you said.
Thank you.
And I think we'll see you on the other side of this bear market. Again, thank you for taking the time. And I'm going to thank our viewers for watching this. And if you got anything interesting or useful from this, like and share, and maybe subscribe. And we'll see you for the next one.